Imagine you wake up tomorrow and the sun is just gone. Not eclipsed. Not hidden behind clouds. Gone. Completely erased from the sky for exactly 24 hours. What would actually happen to you, to Earth, and to everything alive on it? Let's start with the part almost nobody expects. For the first 8 minutes, you wouldn't notice a single thing. That's because light from the sun takes about 8 minutes and 20 seconds to reach Earth. So even if the sun vanished this instant, we'd still be looking at sunlight that left it minutes ago. The sky would stay bright, the warmth would stay on your skin, and the world would look completely normal for a little while longer. Then, in an instant, the light would simply cut off. No sunset. No fading colors. Just day turning to pure black night in a single second, like someone flipped a switch on the entire planet. The first thing you'd feel is the cold. Earth's surface would start losing heat immediately, radiating warmth out into space with nothing coming back in to replace it. Within a few hours, temperatures could drop by several degrees. By the end of the full day, many regions could fall below freezing, even areas that are normally warm. The oceans would help, for now. Water holds heat far longer than air or land, so the seas would act like a giant battery, slowly releasing warmth and keeping the crash from being instant everywhere. But landlocked regions, deserts, and high altitudes would feel the cold fastest and hardest. Next comes the dark. Total, absolute darkness, broken only by moonlight, and even that would vanish, because the moon doesn't make its own light. It only reflects the sun's. No sun means no moonlight either. Just stars and the glow of human-made lights, holding back a night with no morning in sight. Now think about plants. Photosynthesis depends on sunlight to convert carbon dioxide and water into energy. Stop the sun for a full day, and most plants would simply pause. Not die, not yet, but stop growing, stop producing oxygen the way they normally would. One day probably wouldn't be enough to collapse entire ecosystems. But it would be enough to send a shockwave through every food chain that depends on that steady rhythm of light and dark. Animals would panic first. Nocturnal creatures might wake early, confused by the unexpected dark. Birds that migrate using the sun as a guide could lose their bearings completely. Farm animals, pets, even insects, all of them run on internal clocks tuned to sunlight, and that clock would suddenly make no sense at all. And what about gravity? Here's the twist most people don't expect. If the sun's light disappeared, but its mass stayed exactly where it was, Earth would keep orbiting normally. Gravity isn't light, it doesn't travel the same way, and in this scenario, we're only removing the sun's glow, not its pull. So we wouldn't go flying off into space. We'd just be circling an invisible, dark star for one full day. Humanity's reaction would be immediate and massive. Solar power plants would go silent, straining electrical grids already stressed by heating demands as temperatures dropped. Emergency services would brace for chaos. Governments would scramble to explain the unexplainable, and scientists around the world would suddenly be testing theories that, until now, had only ever existed on paper. For 24 hours, humanity would essentially be living through a global blackout, not of electricity, but of the single force every living thing on this planet was built around. Then, right on schedule, the light would return. Sunlight already traveling toward Earth would simply resume its arrival, and dawn would break exactly as it always has. Plants would restart their engines. Animals would slowly recalibrate. Temperatures would begin climbing back toward normal. But here's the unsettling part. One day might just be a scare. A rough 24 hours the planet could absorb and recover from. The real question isn't what happens in one day. It's what happens if it's 2. Or 10. Or the sun never comes back at all.